Welcome back to Wyandot Lake and episode 16 of our Planet Coaster 2 water park. Today is probably my favorite episode to date because we are going to be working on what I would say is half of my favorite section of the entire park, and that is the back corner of our boardwalk. Not only that, but this is the penultimate episode for our boardwalk section of the park. So without delay, let's dive on in. I touched on this a little bit in the last episode, but we did wrap up the boardwalk sign that you will walk underneath to go inside. I do not have the footage of that, unfortunately. It unfortunately got deleted, but you will see those kind of eventually. They are an old school kind of steel frame look with some lettering on them. We put some lights on the bottom of them as well, so they look really cool at night. So that is really all that was missed there. And we are starting today with this runoff area. And right now we're putting in these planters. And when I first built this area, and I'll touch a little more on what the area is here in a second, we felt like it was very open. It was really missing something. And so I kind of experimented a little bit with these planters, and it actually really kind of made it feel a little bit more comfortable, a little more intimate. And so we're going to go ahead and put these in. They look just absolutely amazing. They all kind of have this similar look, but also kind of a unique look, kind of a different look depending on what side of this little plaza area you are in. And it looks awesome. We'll put some lights in. It's perfect for hiding speakers, possibly, so we can add some music and everything in, which is going to be just great. But this area as a whole is our runoff area for our water slide. And it's probably my favorite individual area of the park so far. It's designed so that the pool fits the slides, so it's serving rather than just a square pool, right? So we've got kind of the big circle, and I think you saw it a minute ago. It drops right in the middle, and then it kind of extends out on the flume portion that is going to shoot you straight out. Looks super great. We also went ahead and put in the resort wall decoration, which I've been using to act as a wooden fence. To be honest, I actually like it more than the original fencing, wood fencing in Planet Coaster 1. I think it just looks absolutely incredible. Super excited to see that. I think it's an extremely versatile piece that we can use for a variety of things. There's also, why am I putting a fence here, right? Why am I, not decorating planters? Well, there's going to be a little bit of decoration. Don't worry. We're going to put a little bit of decoration in here. But this is the eastern edge of our park. And so what we have, and you can see we're kind of putting in the space where we're going to have the planters and everything, the garden. But all this back here underneath the slide, we don't need to have visible to the public. It's just junk space. And so we put a little bit of space where we can have kind of some planters and some stuff to add a little bit of depth, and then behind it's nothing, so there's no reason to see it, no reason to have chain link, short fence, whatever. So we went with a nice hard fence. It looks great. We're going to go in eventually and we're going to put some gravel underneath the water ride, and I'm really just super happy with how it came out. We are going to work on some foliage and stuff as well to kind of clean this all up, and it'll look great. So I know it doesn't look great right now, a lot of grass. It'll look completely transformed by the end of this episode. It's truly, you're going to be blown away by it. I will say also, I am going to keep doing this kind of fence off the pathway. I go back and forth on it. It kind of clumps the park together, I think, kind of maybe in some ways makes it feel a little more claustrophobic. But at the same time, I feel like it's necessary, especially in today's world. I watched a video the other day on YouTube of these people playing hide and seek in a park, and these people were literally going into the planters, going into, these gardens, and they were hiding in these areas. And having worked in a park, I can tell you, if I looked over and I saw somebody hiding behind plants, I would just look at them and be like, what are you doing? Why are you back there? And quite frankly, depending on where you were, it could be a safety issue, right? And it can result in you getting hurt, somebody else getting hurt, security getting called, all kinds of different problems. And so I just felt like having that extra fencing along the perimeter, especially in a water park, was just super important. There's going to be a lot of heavy foliage behind it, and so it adds kind of that extra layer of security where nobody can hide back there for whatever intent they may have. But that's the reasoning we did that. You'll see it throughout. We've got our custom fences, which we did earlier on, that we're continuing. There you can see the kind of sign just real quick that we kind of went through there. Looks really good, I think. And then we did this kind of metal fence that kind of goes through the boardwalk. The boardwalk has a couple different fencing styles that we went with. I think it works. I'm not normally big on changing up the fencing style because I think it can maybe impact kind of your perception of where you are in the park. But I think for this area, it works because this kind of section of the boardwalk with the runoff pool is very different. And so I actually do think it works fairly well. And so we're going to go ahead and just leave that as is. And you can see here where it's already transforming. We're adding some dirt, which we'll put plants on. And then with the fence here, we're going to give it a little bit of life. We're going to put these surfboards on it. We're going to put some signs on there. And it's really going to fit the theme of the area, kind of pull everything together, add some character. It's going to make it so that it's not just a boring wall. And it's got some life to it. And it just gives it some personality. And looks great. Let me know if you agree, if you disagree. If there's something else you would add, right? Maybe you can add an advertisement board or something. But is what it is. Is there something else you do with your parks for those areas? Let me know as well. But I didn't really want to do foliage because I didn't feel like foliage really worked there. Just with trying to kind of keep that beach open theme and whatnot. But we're going to go under the slides now. And so we have two kind of parts. We've got this part here, and you can see the pool kind of jut out there for a second. But we've got this part here, which is directly under the slide, directly under the exit. So we're going to put some foliage in here. And we're going to kind of put the palm trees in between, which adds a little bit of depth. We did that with our first slide with Whispering Waters a couple episodes ago. And then we're going to put some other plants in here. It's going to add a little bit of depth and make it seem like there's a lot more back here than there is. And of course, you can see where the other fence is. And beyond that fence, there's nothing. And so the reason for that is, again, you're not going to see that. Guests aren't going to see that. And what you don't want is extra mowing. If you leave that as grass, that's a lot of mowing that your maintenance staff and your landscaping team or whoever that handles that at your park is going to have to deal with. So by doing kind of that dirt, doing that kind of gravel, it takes away all that extra maintenance, and those trees and plants and everything can kind of sit there and you don't have to touch them anymore. So we're going to pop over now to Sand Dune Racers, which of course we did a lot of work on last episode, and we're going to kind of, I say finish it up, but I'm doing kind of air quotes because we have the area in between the slide and the main pathway, which I believe we do on the next episode. We might do it here, but I think we do it in the next episode. But we're going to kind of decorate this, and I actually think it comes out really well because we kind of gave it some high-low, kind of in the middle look. It gives it kind of some privacy with the pool, which will fit really well when we add the foliage onto the side in our next episode. We did go kind of high with the foliage around it, but you can still see through. It still has those gaps that you can still see through. Looks really good, kind of matches the slides, but also kind of keeps it different with a unique feel. And I say match the slides as in how we have the dirt. The dirt kind of matches that sand look that we were going with. I talked yesterday about trying to match the sand, the look. You're sliding down the sand dune, and that's what we kind of went with there. So going on back to kind of the fencing over here, I get better in a couple episodes where we kind of do one thing at a time. We finish something. At the time that I recorded this, I was just kind of popping around. Doing fencing I can get bored, and you know how it is sometimes. But we've got the decorated path. We've placed down the sand, and we're gonna put kind of a sky blue fence behind it with the idea of kind of that's the sky. Try to kind of give a little bit of an infinity look. The sand goes on forever, and then we have the sky. It doesn't look great. It's not going to look great, right? We don't have the depth in here to really make it perfect. There's the texture on the fence, right? It's not a smooth mural surface, so we're never going to get there. But overall, looks super great, I think. We put these trees in, we add some more foliage, and it really just kind of ties the area together, especially with the fencing. And we don't go super heavy here. We put a little bit in, but it's enough that it works, especially when we kind of add in the rocks, right? With this area kind of being kind of more of an open beach area, right? You think about the beach, it's on a lake, it's on an ocean, there's nothing, sometimes for hundreds of miles. And so we kind of wanted to keep that kind of open field as much as we could. And I think we kind of did a good job at finding that medium ground over here. We've also got this sign here. I don't think we put anything on it. We put this kind of seagull image on it. But if you have any other ideas for kind of what we can put here, some kind of advertisement or something, photo spot, something, let me know. Would love to maybe put something here. I feel like it's a prime spot to maybe have a photo spot with the exit pool, some kind of statue, something like that. But let me know kind of what your thoughts are. So, and real quick before we kind of finish off the exit pool, the slides for our big slide complex, we do finally have names for. We'll do the signage for that. I don't think we do that today. I think we do that tomorrow. But it is going to be called, I forget. Give me a second. I had this pulled up a second ago, and I totally lost it. Yes, Coastline Twist. So it's going to be called Coastline Twist is the slide platform. And the 3 slides are going to be the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Gulf Coast. And the thought process behind all of this is ocean and seas of our planets are intense. And these are kind of more intense slides for us. And so I wanted something that was going to be unique, that conveyed that sense of intensity that riders will experience, right? All 3 bodies of water are very different, but they're all still intense. And that's exactly what these are going to be. The color palettes are very much inspired by that. And so they're kind of different colors, kind of based on kind of the look of the water and everything in those areas. But that's kind of the names we're going with. That's the themes we're going with. And yeah, so back to our exit pool area over here. We kind of went with the wavy look to kind of give that water sky look again. And then we're going to place a ton of foliage down in here. And it's kind of funny when you look at this area before we started working on it today, you saw just super open, super vast, and now you see it and it's very condensed. It really kind of ties the area together very well. And one of my favorite things about this is these planners that we're working on now. This is a bathroom that we put in here. You water parks, you wait in line for 45 minutes for a 30-second ride. And you might have to use the bathroom when you're done. So we've got a bathroom right outside the exit here. It's also going to be the easternmost point of our park. And so it just felt like it was a good place to have one. And we put these planners in to really kind of disguise the building. It's very much an ugly building. It's, cinder block. It's painted cinder block, so it looks better than normal. But it's very basic. And so we put these bushes in to hide it. We're going to put in some lights. And then we're also going to make it very balanced, right? So that it's kind of the same on either side, which just does a great job at pulling everything together. And I also I talked about the fence pieces earlier and how versatile they are. And it's the same thing with these lights. These lights can be used as kind of your traditional backstage light. They can be used up here. They can be used on rides and, Western theme. They're so incredibly versatile. You can use them in so many different ways, and just super hyped up about the way this looks here. And my favorite detail, and this was unintentional when I built those shrubs there, is we put in the bathroom signs. And I wish we had individual bathroom signs in the game. You know, we had a boys' bathroom, a girls' bathroom, right? We didn't have them always connected. But because of how I did the shrubs, I kind of quickly realized I could take this surfboard look, which really fits this area incredibly well, put them on each side, and then hide them with the shrubs. And so that's what we do. It just looks awesome. I also wish there were maybe some more bathroom sign options, but it looked great. And then we added that there just to kind of add a little bit of flavor over on the side there. I don't know if you'll even be able to see that when we finish the park. That's later down the road, but at least for now, that's what we have. So right here, we have this little foliage island like what we did in Lakeside. It's a small pace here. It could possibly be developed. I actually do have it on our capital project list to potentially become a store of some kind. With its location relative to everything else in the park, I would find it unlikely. But based on kind of the feedback from the heat maps and what we're seeing foot traffic wise over here, that could be an opportunity. There's probably going to be a lazy river exit right on the other side of the pool, or right on the other side of the pathway. So there's certainly that opportunity here for that to happen. So now going back to this, one of the things I love about this area, and this is kind of a trademark when design in general, when you go to a park, it's something you don't notice, but when you do notice it, it's really cool. A huge part of parks is giving the illusion there's more space between things than you think there is. It is amazing, having worked in a park, seeing how close guests are to a backstage area that you have no idea even exists. I can remember working at a zoo, and there were certain areas where you would walk through as staff and you had to be dead silent because literally 5 feet away from you are guests, and they have no idea you're there just because of the decorations and everything they have. And so with that island, that is something we kind of targeted. It's very small, but with the heavy foliage we put in there, it definitely gives some more depth. You feel you're further from the path. The sound and everything will be dampened because you've got close, medium, and high level plants, and just looks great. And then we also added in this border on our southern edge of the park, which is this planter. Reason being is we were able to put these kind of native plants in here to the area, native to the theme of the area, I should say, and with this kind of wood wall behind it that actually looks really nice. But everything on the other side of there is going to be more generic vegetation to the area of the park. And so by having this wall here and this planter, it's really going to draw your eye, and you're not going to see all of that extra stuff behind it, right? It'll still be there, but it's going to be much less pronounced than it would be if we just had a regular fence, right? We didn't have any depth, but this does a great job at drawing your eye. Looks really cool. Again, it's another area that ripe for development, ripe for expansion. But for right now, especially at night, you see it with the lights, you know, they really draw your eye to kind of the forefront of the image, and you don't see anything behind it. And that holds true once we do eventually add in all of our foliage and everything over there. Speaking of lighting, we put in these lights right here. They're kind of a floodlight, almost stadium-esque light to kind of light up this area, right? Safety area. I'm not sold on it. If you have better ideas, if you've seen better things, let me know below. Certainly want to change it. But for right now, this is what we went with. I thought about doing maybe some kind of a torch, but with the umbrellas and everything, you know, you have that fire hazard, and didn't feel like a good use of resources because I also expect this to be a high traffic area, and just didn't feel like that was a safe option to put in there. So going back to kind of coloring, I think a great way to enhance your park, if you're working on a park that really adds a personal touch, is coloring as much as you can. And that's what we're doing here. We took the generic planters and we matched it to the sand of everywhere else. So now it matches, it looks so much closer. And then we also adjusted the look of the planters, made them kind of a little bit darker, add a little more contrast. And while it looks better, I think, in my mind, it does look fairly the same in terms of how good it looks, but it also just adds a little bit of unique touch, right? It's just like with here, right? And we'll get into this tomorrow, and because you can kind of see we've got some sand and some dirt, and we'll get into kind of why that is really important tomorrow. But what that does is that just kind of gives a unique touch and kind of just adds to the realism of the park and looks great. And speaking of realism, we're seeing some of that right now with this little pathway we're putting in. That's going to be a staff pathway. It's going to go to the back of the park. It's how you're going to access our QSR location that we're going to get into here in a minute. But it just kind of adds to that, right? And we talked about wanting to make sure we have some back of the house areas that work, and this is just another example of that. And then you do the dual fence, so you have to kind of go around a corner so that as a guest, you don't necessarily see what's behind there. Because let me tell you, there's nothing that breaks the immersion more than having a clean view of the back of house. Because the back of house at parks is often very dirty, very unorganized, and quite frankly, not very flattering to see. So now that the back area is done, we can finish up our QSR location on the front. We've got a ice cream stand and a slushy stand. And so we're going to end up naming these Seaside Swirls and Slushy Splash. Would love to get some DLCs in here, some different food options in the future. I think we're going to have a lot of repeat food in the park, which isn't necessarily the end of the world, especially if they're on opposite ends, different themed areas. It works, but I still just think it would be awesome to have a little more variety in here. We could take stuff, make it kind of unique, and then also in Planet Coaster 1, I know there's some stores that don't sell as well, and maybe that happens here, and we can change things out, kind of better match themes and all that. But that's down the road. Right now, I will say I do miss the ability to custom add prices. If they made one adjustment to kind of the QSR setup, that would be the thing. I enjoyed that kind of challenge of finding what are guests willing to pay. And it was very annoying in Planet Coaster 1, but it was something I really did enjoy. But we added that little fence there around the middle. I'm not sold on it. That might go away. This is something that I've got a note to watch once we open the park because it's very narrow in between. And what I could see happening is you get a long line and you have to kind of push through people to get out of line once you have your order. And so what we might do is we might put like a little fence in between and then kind of make it so you order and then you go into the middle and then back out. But we're going to have to watch this and see. Truthfully, I don't think this area and this location is going to be overly used. It's in the kind of the back corner. There's not a lot back here. I'm not expecting it to be a high traffic area. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I'd love to be surprised. Maybe as we expand things down the road, it becomes one and we have to make a change. But right now, this looks fine as it is. And I also think the decorations and everything we added here to kind of pull everything together, it looks a little tiki, but overall it kind of fits this corner really well. I think this corner has kind of a darker look. But that's it for today. Next episode is going to be super exciting. It's going to be the last episode of the Boardwalk. We're going to kick off by working on the foliage for the area, which does a great job at enhancing sand dune racers and really kind of ties the whole area together. And there's some really cool stuff we do with that. We're also going to talk about our third themed area and what that's going to be and kind of start talking about what that area is going to look like. For now, though, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.